My name is Jacqlene Monét. I'm a multi-hyphenate CEO and I own the company JM Legacy Group. Had over a decade in tech experience and now I'm doing my own thing. Speaking about my career and how people can evoke change now as a strategy powerhouse and how I did that throughout my years in tech and pivoted along the way. I'm also a speaker, a brand consultant, fibromyalgia warrior, and of course, I don't say a space advocate. I'm sorry, self-advocacy advocate, okay? Champion. So let's get into this. So first you're probably thinking, what am I going to get out of this? Why am I here? Is this a waste of time? No, it's not. But I would like to give people a roadmap just so they understand what we're going to get in today and where we're headed, right? Or an agenda, as some people like to call it. But first, we're going to talk about the silent threat that's happening in cybersecurity. You might be thinking, what is that threat? But I'm going to leave you on the edge of your seat and we're going to talk about it soon because it's very important and why I'm here. Of course, then we're going to ease into the theme of innovation and resilience and why it is so important in cybersecurity and how to get past that competitive edge and use advocacy to evoke those things, right? Then we're going to ease on down into the framework. So not only are we going to talk about it, I'm going to give you some strategic steps on how to actually take action today. So I like to call these the 3 pillars of self-advocacy and the 3 C's. And hopefully it'll be able for you to easily use it and stick it in your brain so you can apply that framework today. We're actually going to take action and stuff today together. You just don't know yet. Of course, I think I mentioned to some of you earlier who are already here, this is going to be a very interactive experience. It's not going to just be me talking at you. I'm going to ask some questions, take some notes, play out some scenarios, and do some role play. And really make sure this information is soaking in so you can apply it. I'm going to also provide you a few personal anecdotes and stories, but a real actual case study of my experience, how I applied these methods, and how it helped me propel myself in my career. And lastly, I'm going to give you a few challenges throughout the experience, but I'm going to give you one last challenge that I want you to take action on while we're in here together, hopefully. All right. If you're ready, let me hear you say ready.
Ready.
Okay. All right. So again, we're going to address the problem. I'm going to express the framework to you, and then we're going to take action together. We're going to sum all that up. All right. So first things first, we're going to do a vulnerability scan. You're probably thinking, how are we going to do that? We all don't work together. We're not on the same teams, not working in the same projects, but we're going to actually take a vulnerability scan on us. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions. And if the answer is yes, I want you to stand. If you can't stand, you're not able-bodied, give me 2 hands. If you can't put up your hands, give me a holla, okay? All right. So I want you to stand up if you've ever been quiet in a meeting, even when you had something important to say. Boom. Oh, we already got most of the room. Next. Keep standing if you don't mind. Stand up if you've been praised behind closed doors but overlooked in public. Yes, 2 hands up. Stand up if you've seen a security risk and thought, that's not my lane, I'm gonna stay out of that. Any hands up for that? Oh, on the seat, yes! Got everybody up. And lastly, stand up if you've held back an idea because you weren't sure how it would be received or if it mattered. Yes. Any hands up for that one? Okay. All right. So before I get into my blueprint, I want you to take a look around, right? You're not alone. We're all in this together. That hesitation, the silence, that's a security risk too. And today we're going to patch that together. All right. You can please be seated. Thank you so much. All right. So if you're ready, let me hear you say, stand up.
Stand up.
Okay. So next, is this a safe space? Can I share a personal story with you all? Okay, awesome. So let me give you a little bit about my blueprint in the tech industry and a real reason why I'm here today, right? So if you looked at my resume 10 years ago, you probably wouldn't expect to see me on this stage, right? You probably would be thinking, why is she here? But I honestly didn't study cybersecurity traditionally in college, like many people. I know we all have our ways of how we got here, but my degrees are in completely different fields. But we don't need to talk about that. That's another conversation for another day. However, post-college, ironically, like many folks trying to figure out adulthood and figure out how to pay the bills, I broke into the tech industry about 12 years ago. And I was really trying to just figure out how to carve my own path in life. So when I broke into the industry, I carved my own path in tech. Then I eventually created roles that didn't even exist yet. And I kind of exceeded my own expectations, thinking, wow, I didn't even know this was possible. And so I eventually positioned myself and became one of those folks that people came to if there was an outage, or if teams were burning out, or if someone has to stand in the fire and say, we need to do better by making enhancements to X to create the outcome of Z, right? And so I'm here because every innovation I led came from one thing, using my voice. And so even when it shook or I was nervous, I still found a way to spoke up through confidence, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So even if imposter syndrome shows up, anybody know what you guys know what imposter syndrome is? Okay, awesome. I'm in the right room. So even when imposter syndrome showed up and was in my mind, like, you can't do this, you shouldn't say anything, or the naysayers at work were doubting me, like the haters, right? We all got some haters that like to hold us back. I just had to still stand up and say no, right? I have to speak up and say something. And if you form the right relationships at work strategically, it can help propel your career really far. And so I like to, of course, I'm going to tell you about my story, but I'm going to give you the roadmap and show you how to do it. I'm not going to leave you hanging. Come on. I'm going to do that. All right. So the real problem, what it kind of let you on the edge of the seat earlier. In cybersecurity, there's a huge risk of silence, and we're not addressing that enough, I don't think. We really need to focus on the human threats, right? And there's a lot of human threats inside of our organization, meaning the moments when someone knows something, feels something, or wants to ask a question, but they don't, they stay silent. In other words, this can fall under the category of professional or personal development that could either propel or hinder your career. So we want to stop doing that. I've seen brilliant engineers stay quiet in high stake war rooms. I've even seen junior analysts with genius ideas shut down because of hierarchy and they felt like they shouldn't say anything. And I've seen burnout eat through entire departments because no one knew how to say, this isn't sustainable, right? Someone just needed to stand up and say that. So, in order to bring this to life and really let this sink in, I want to play out a scenario with you all. So, everyone find a partner. I'm going to give you a second. Find a partner. One person is going to be person A, and one person is going to be person B. Awesome. Got our partners. Great. Thank you so much. All right. So now that you have your partner, person A, you noticed something was off on your team, and maybe it was a security risk, a pattern no one addressed, or a team process that people were burning out. But instead of saying something, you stay quiet, right? So that's your person A scenario. Person B, you're the manager on a team who doesn't know what's going on, right? And so now that you have your scenarios, I want you to take 3 to 5 minutes and discuss the scenario and what happens next if you stay silent, or if you're a manager or team lead who has no idea what's happening. What decisions are made without that insight because person A didn't speak up? And also, what gets lost in translation? All right, ready, go. Right. Do, 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 do. Yeah, can you record them more? Hello, welcome in. We're just playing out a scenario right now. We'll catch you up really soon. All right, about 1 more minute, everyone. Like these need to move. All right, everyone, about 20 seconds to wrap up. What'd you say? Oh, those have to move. All right, everyone, let's bring it on back. Time to share. Anybody want to share their conversation? Hands up. Sure.
We were just talking about the different aspects. So the role of a manager will vary based on organization.
Right.
So sometimes the managers are not
Mhm. Mhm.
so they're relying on people below them. Okay? And sometimes, depending on whether it's in a group or one-on-one, talk about they can get open. Sometimes they can be overshare.
Yes.
So trying to make sure that don't powerless to know when they can speak up, or even know that they maybe an open conversation is kind of something really is not going to have that conversation.
Yes.
I know, as a manager, that's one thing that I really struggle with is
Mhm.
feeling like they have a voice that people will respect, because everyone has that thought. They're not really about their opinion doesn't matter.
Mhm.
They're always dependent on the person the person that is.
Yes. That's awesome.
Yes.
Mhm.
Because you don't want to throw your manager under the bus. That's
Right.
but now, at some point, there is a line. So, there's so many different situations, but I think you start with.
Mhm.
My manager really have an issue. They're not listening. I know it's simple things.
Right.
Because I've been in
Both scenario. Yeah. Those are perfect. Also, spoiler alert, talking about both of those things. So thank you. So that was a perfect response. What was your name? James. Sean. Nice to meet you both. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that. And you really hit the nail on the head there. And probably was probably the main reason why I went into that scenario because I've been on both sides of the coin as well. It's like you said. Because even from a leadership perspective, you can be in that scenario as well with the higher ups, right? Where you don't know if you should say something or if you should, or where you sit on the totem pole hierarchy, all that comes into play. So yes, it's important. Does anyone have a real life scenario that's actually happening at their job right now that they want to share? Or maybe not. Maybe it's classified. Yes, please share.
I'll share two very quickly.
Sure.
First, when I was younger in my career, I was kind of like a chart people in a China shop. Like I noticed something, I said something. If I could use slightly spicy language, I pissed off all.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Where it's just like stepping on toes. No, I'm jumping right off.
Ooh, fearless.
But I kind of learned over time to pull that down. Like the whole entire value of critical capital.
Mm-hmm.
So I think more modified versions working with had a API that was something not such a API.
Ooh,
And I basically just
that sounds expensive. Okay. Mm-hmm.
all the shelf that, and then make the action like a default action.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, I don't hear from you. I'm gonna follow it up to that level.
Mm-hmm. That's perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. What's your name? JP, nice to meet you. Thank you. So you guys are basically telling the story. Should I just go home? No. I'm just kidding. Thank you so much. That was awesome. And so I'm glad you guys are really understanding that scenario and it's really sinking in with you. And so if we move forward and just understand the cost of silence, right? And you guys pretty much displayed that it can sometimes look like a disaster, but it's not always a disaster. It's just really important that we speak up and say something because it can eventually chip away at innovation and resilience while we're here today, and trust. Because if somebody finds out you're holding out some really important information and you could have spared the company some money or the team some time for being in a fire, that can kind of waver their trust with you as well. So, but like they were saying, you got to know your audience, you have to know the opportune time, and you have to know how and when to do that. So we'll actually kind of roll that out in the framework I'm about to show you. All right, so if we get into the theme of the conversation with innovation and resilience, yes, it starts with us, but also I just want to be clear that innovation, I know a lot of times we think are, oh, new releases, new products, or things that are being shipped out to clients and folks in our app or at our company and software, right? But honestly, it's more than tech and it's more than just releases. It's more about us. It comes from the brave people who aren't afraid to use their voice in the most opportune times. So, like you're saying, knowing your audience, but also the time. And so, if we also shift into the mindset of resiliency, it isn't just from about bouncing back from breaches, right? It's also about bouncing forward with better systems, better teams, and bolder voices. So your ability to speak up, define your value, and lead conversations is what secures the future. We all get that little feeling in our gut, like you should say something, but we don't always act on that. Raise your hand if you've been guilty of that. I know I have, especially early on in my career. I was like, maybe I should say something. I don't know. You're like double dutching the situation. You don't know, right? But or you're a bull in the china shop and you just say it all. So it just depends, right? It really just depends. But maybe we doubt ourselves because we had a bad manager in the past who would always shoot our ideas down or talk over us and make it seem like it wasn't relevant. Or maybe we think, I haven't worked here long enough and I probably shouldn't say anything. But today, we're going to change that mindset because your previous experiences from other teams, projects, and companies could honestly bring insights that they might not have even thought of. So it's good to speak up and say something. So there was a time in my past, in my last role as a new leader, where I noticed huge gaps in the process, and I knew I had a solution to close the case, or sorry, close the gap. And that's where I found a point where it was either time to speak up in a meeting, or maybe draft an email and send that later and give them my suggestions based on what I observed. It can feel a bit nerve wracking when you're deciding to make those choices, right? But honestly, it helps solidify my place on the team as a thought leader and someone folks could turn to in the future for help, especially in a fire. So now I'm going to show you how to shift into that strategic mindset using the framework, the three pillars of self advocacy in cybersecurity that I like to call the three C's. I like to use C's for cybersecurity. You guys see what I did there? All right. Yes, there's a theme. So, first, these three pillars, I'm sorry, will actually validate the stance and when deciding if you should speak up and evoke change, right? So, number one, clarity of value. You have to know what you bring to the table and articulate that. So, let me hear you say clarity of value. Oh, y'all could do better than that. That was sad. Clarity of value. There we go. Awesome. I saw the fist raise in the back. I appreciate that. Number two, courage to speak up. Even when it feels uncomfortable and risky, you still got to do it. Yes, you might need another time and place, and we'll get into some of those scenarios where it might not be the right time, but you got to still speak up. Even if it's always going to be uncomfortable. It is what it is. Like, even if you're used to it, clearly I speak on self advocacy, but sometimes in the really tough situations, it can still feel uncomfortable. It is what it is. Ultimately, because you don't know how the other person's going to react and you can't control how they react. So there's always a catch, but don't stop doing it. All right. Third, oh, sorry. Number two, say courage to speak up. There we go. And number three, contribution beyond the keyboard. Yes, your 9 to 5 is awesome. Yes, you're supposed to be doing the things that's within your role, but you might have to color outside the lines a little bit and advocate some ideas if they come up. Use your voice and say it. A lot of people think, oh, my ideas might probably dumb or stupid or I haven't been here long enough. No, like all ideas are good ideas, and maybe you have to work together with someone to bring it to fruition, but you might as well just bring it to the table. It can ultimately excuse me, shape the culture and help you lead boldly within your team, no matter what your level is. So if we drill down into these a little bit more, and forgive me, repeat after me. Contribute beyond the keyboard.
Contribute beyond the keyboard.
One more time. Contribute beyond the keyboard.
Contribute beyond the keyboard.
Woohoo! All right. So that's the third one. So if we drill down to these even further, okay, I want to break these down one by one. Oh, wait. If you don't have your notepads out or your phone out or something, I need you guys to take notes because I'm going to drop some major gems right now, okay? Get the phones out, get clickety clacking. There we go. James got it. Because these are going to be very crucial in order for you to use that framework strategically in the future to take action, okay? So, first things first, if we define the first one, clarity of value. It can be tough, right, to keep a revolving record on hand of all your accolades at a company and to really truly understand your value. But if you don't define your value, who will? And sometimes others get it wrong. So you don't want people to lessen your value or inflate it in the wrong way. But I mean, that's also kind of cool. But you don't want them to lessen your value ultimately. And honestly, at the last security tech company I worked for, I won't mention the name, so we'll just keep that to me. But I knew my skill set wasn't being used properly in my current role. So I pitched the idea of a new one to my SVP. And when I was pitching, I knew in order to make the best use of their time, I had to define my value in a succinct way that would drive the pitch home. Okay? Because you're talking all over the place and you're talking about the weather and rocket launches and like all kinds of things. They're like, all right, my time, I only have 5 minutes. What's going on here? Right? So you got to get to it, especially depending on the level of the person you're talking to and pitching this to. You have to get really succinct with your thought process. Don't get me wrong. This took a lot of time for me to comb back all of my projects across all my Kanban boards, everything I was completing the last quarters, years, things on my calendars, emails. I was really trying to comb through all this and create a full list. Like, what did I accomplish? What did I do at this company since I've been here? Granted, this can be kind of hard if you've been at a company for 10, 15 plus years, right? But you might have a general idea of the things that you've accomplished. And it might be a record of it somewhere. So you create that full list, but then you create a summarized version of that to express that to in your specific contributions. And honestly, also I also added if there was any team, customer, or company recognition. I mentioned that too, because that's also really important, especially for leadership. They want to know. Defining your value in relation to your contribution to the team, department, and company as a whole will honestly strike gold with your leaders and will increase your credibility. So this one is major key, very important, but can be kind of hard. However, pillar number two, if we get into this, the courage to speak up. For those of you who keep a running tally on what you've accomplished at your company, that's awesome. I need to be more like you. But I don't think we're all sitting there making a list and checking it twice like Santa of all the things that we've accomplished as we go along. Maybe we are, I don't know. But it can be kind of hard to keep tabs on it all. Actually, though, for a lot of people, this could probably be the hardest thing to accomplish in this framework, right? Just to simply find the courage to say it out loud to someone of leadership authority. That can be, really scary and can turn people off and turn people away. Even if you write down all the things you've accomplished and express your value, and then you might just say, oh, I never mind. I'm not going to schedule that call anyway. No, definitely schedule the call or talk to them and express this to the person. So there was a time that I flagged systematic gap in security protocols and I got silence, crickets, like no one cared what I had to say. And I'm like, are you guys kidding me? Like, this is serious. 6 months later, the problem got even bigger and even larger and honestly cost the company a lot of money. It was so frustrating. I'm like, you guys just would have listened to me before. But here we are, right? And speaking up can be scary and sometimes it can be deflating because you think, oh, they didn't listen to me before. So why should I say this again? No, honestly, your silence costs more. I would say ring the alarms and raise the bells, especially if it's a risk and a threat, raise them bells. Just knowing how you just knowing how you speak, it really matters, and the impact that it brings, your leader will remember it, and so will others. So a lot of times it causes a ripple effect to the team and other people, and they see how you do it, which is awesome. But when I say depending on how you speak up, that means the choice of medium of outreach. There can be different ways of how you decide to speak up. So think to yourself, was this during a team stand up, like you guys mentioned earlier? Was the timing of this right, or was something on fire? Should I maybe have not said it now because they weren't paying attention to me? Did I get straight to the point, call it out, and offer a solution? Or did I beat around the bush and speak too long winded and run out of time? Or did you send an email with all the facts, info, and suggestions of resolutions? Or did you chat your leader and ask for one-on-one time in your calendar? So there are different ways that you can go about this outreach and different ways you can communicate what your thoughts and ideas are. It's a good food for thought next time that you want to build up the courage to speak about something. And it could be scary to do it over and over again, but I just want to encourage you to always do it. All right, so if we get into the last pillar of the framework, again, this is contributing beyond the keyboard. So in tech and cybersecurity, teams off like a lot of teams stay in their lane. I think one of you were mentioning that earlier. Teams can be very siloed. James, you mentioned that earlier, and sometimes even leadership is far removed, right? And so you might think it's not in my lane, or I just don't know, or they don't really need to know. I'm out of here, so I'm not going to talk about it, or it's not in my role, so I'm not going to say anything. No, 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 no. We got to say something, even if it's beyond your role. A lot of times it's great to color outside the lines. I know we were kind of taught don't do that, but in this scenarios, being innovative means coloring outside the lines, thinking ways that people don't normally think, and bringing your own unique ideas to the table, right? That no one else can replicate. So most companies and leadership like folks who thinks outside the box and will help the company grow, expand, evolve, and improve. But not only does this help create a thought of view of thought leadership, it also helps the company be seen as an innovative force to be reckoned with. So I created programs, redefined roles, and led cross-functional efforts with other teams because I spoke up just beyond what was assigned to me in my projects or on my tickets. I created connections, and that's how I formed and was able to create new roles at the companies because of those connections. Because a lot of times people will recommend you. Even when you're not in the room, they'll talk about you and say, this person did X, Y, and Z. I think they would be awesome for this next position or this next role or this next award because of you speaking up. And it pays off later. All right. And so before we get into the next interactive portion of this, I also just wanted to make sure I talked about how important it was to speak up, yes, but prepare ahead of time. Preparation is major key. So a lot of times when I suggest a talk track, not a lot of times, all the time, it's 100% success rate. Whenever I'm talking to a mentor, a client, a past member of my team that I led, when I introduce that concept of creating a talk track, writing down your facts, quick bullet points. You might have 3 minutes before your call, 5 minutes before your call, or a whole day, right? But if you're writing down the things that you know to be factual, that helps you go a long way, and you won't be able to talk in around about and around the world and have succinct conversation with your leadership team. So that is very important. It also can lessen how much you silence yourself in different workplace scenarios, right? Sometimes thinking off the cuff, I think we've all tried that. Just like, I'm going to wing it and just figure it out. No, a lot of times you don't get straight to the point and it doesn't get you far. So take the time you need to prep and drive it home. It's very, very, very important. All right. So to lock this in, we're going to take a quick pop quiz. I know how much everyone loves those. Woohoo! Pop quiz. All right. So for this, you're going to do this and answer this silently to yourself. Okay. We don't have to get into groups for this one. This is just for you to decide. So the series of questions that I ask, you're going to write down a yes or no to the following, or think this to yourself, yes or no. Have you ever held back on speaking up about a valid security concern? Yes or no? Think that through. Have you ever held back on speaking up about a valid security concern? Number two, are you doing tasks outside your title but not advocating for role clarity and career advancement? Yes or no? Think a lot of times we might just stay in our lane, but do extra work, but then not have an additional conversation of what does this mean for my career? How can I advance myself? And we assume our leader is going to do that. A lot of times we need to say that so that the manager or leader even knows we want the advancement. Sometimes they might not even know. Welcome in, guys. Thank you for joining. So right now we're doing a quick pop quiz for you to answer in your head, yes or no, if you've had any of the following. So I'll start over. So have you ever held back on speaking up on a valid security concern? Yes or no? Are you doing tasks outside of your title but not advocating for the role clarity and career advancement? Yes or no? Third, have you stayed quiet in meetings where your input could have helped based on your personal knowledge and past experience? Yes or no? And lastly, do you downplay your wins because you want to stay neutral and breeze by, but secretly hope for a promotion? Mm. That one's always interesting to me. But a lot of people do this. A lot of people do this and get upset because they don't get a promotion. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. A lot of times it doesn't, honestly. If you answered yes to more than two of these questions, your voice is being underutilized at your company, right? Anybody here answer more than two? Okay, honest answers. We got to change that. We got to change that. Okay. Your organization is definitely missing out on your brilliance. So we have to figure out how to take the steps in the framework, take action, and make a plan today. All right, so next up, challenge time. I want to make sure you have this locked in, and we're going to do this together. I want you guys to take a deep breath. Okay, don't be nervous. You might need to be nervous, but it's okay. Try not to be nervous. So we're going to take action right now, today, and I want you to open your notes, open your phone, compose an email, because we're going to take action now, and we're going to talk to our manager now. Okay, or you can schedule it on Monday, right? If you want to send it on Monday, it could be a Teams message, but if you're feeling froggy, I want you to send it right now. If it's on your mind, okay? The guys are like, what did we just walk into? Heart pounding on fast, like, oh my God. Okay, so in your notes, I want you to say, hey, Jonathan, I've been thinking about X and I would love to talk to you more about how we can improve it. Clearly, you're not going to say X. You're going to exchange that with whatever thought you've been thinking about and your leader's name or the person on your team's name that you've been wanting to say this to. But I think this is a way that we can really get activated now and take action today, now. So, hey, I've been thinking about X, or I've been thinking about this risk, or I've been thinking about this threat, and I would love to talk to you about how we can improve it. That way, you can let them know what's on your mind. And if you want to add another sentence to say, I've been thinking about X and here's a possible solution, that also would be great. I've been thinking about Y and maybe we can apply this. A lot of times leaders appreciate that because they think, oh, they've really been taking this thought. It's saving me some time. They're giving me a solution. Let's apply it now. And then you guys kind of just work together to figure out how to make it happen, how to make it shake. But the first step is drafting that message, right? And really getting that out there to your peers and to your manager to drive this forward. Anybody send it now? I'm curious. Anybody feeling froggy? Okay, it's okay. It's okay. I want you guys to really sit and think. Maybe I should send this on Monday. Maybe I should send it tomorrow. Maybe I should walk out there because my manager, my lead is here. Maybe I should go talk to them about this in person. This is how we take action and really activate this now, right? So a lot of times we go into these calls or sessions, people talk and give us a good game and they say all kinds of things, but they're like, okay, go out there and figure it out. No, we're going to do it now, today, and take action. All right. So simple as it may seem, this is how the change starts, and this is how we elevate resilience and innovation. Okay. So before I go, I did promise you a final case study, right? On what happens when you actually follow this framework, doing these steps, and take action. I'm that person, I'm that case study to show you what happens when I actually spoke up. So one of the most powerful moments in my career came when I didn't wait for someone else to hand me a solution. I designed the solution myself. There was a time I was working with a multi-million-dollar client who was frustrated, and honestly, rightfully so. Internally, things were chaotic, okay, crazy. There was no real structure around our processes, no ownership of updates, and the organization of data, a mess. Okay, nobody knew up from down, nobody knew where to find things, no one knew where the source of truth was. It was a hot mess. It was bad. It was really bad. Okay, and I'm not going to name the company because I just don't want to put them out there like that. But everyone was doing their best, but it was burning people out, and the client could feel it. They could see it. A lot of times we try to hide that from the ultimate goal, who we're serving, who buys our product and our software and our service, but they feel it, especially if they're a multi-million-dollar one. Those are the neediest ones, right? That ask all the questions and they're in the weeds. So they're going to feel it. I advocated for something that didn't exist yet. I pitched a brand new role and helped build out an entirely new department, something I knew we needed because of what I experienced in my former leadership role at the same company, right? So I switched teams and I took my experiences from my previous team and brought that over to the new one because that's what they were lacking. So even if you don't bring it from a previous company, you can bring it from the same inside the same company from different experiences, different roles, and different positions. Also, just a disclaimer, I'm not telling you you have to go and create a brand new department. That takes a lot of work, but you can definitely still apply and make this apply to your own life. I seen gaps before, right? And I'd fix them. And I definitely have a knack for gap analysis. That's just kind of how my brain works. I see something, I need to fix it, I need to update the process. And so I knew I had to do it again. I combined that knowledge with the knowledge so I did both. I did twofold. I combined the knowledge from a previous leadership role at the same company. I also combined the knowledge that I had from another leadership role at another company. So it was actually from an IT SaaS company. Then I brought that information over to a governance security company, right? And so that was a different change in field. However, the processes were lacking and the gaps were very similar. So I was able to combine those experiences and bring that over to leadership to then create. It was funny. I brought it over to them and they said, well, this doesn't exist. We don't really know how to do this. How do we tackle this? And I said, funny you ask. Here's a whole proposal of how we can tackle this and achieve this, and here's a solution. And they said, great. Do you want to be the person that runs that? And I said, me? And they said, yeah, you're the one that brought it to us. So why don't you lead that fold? And I said, wow, okay, so this is how brand new positions and brand new titles are created. Somebody just comes up with an idea, creates a proposal, does the research, does the work, finds a solution, and then goes to leadership and finds a way to put it into play. Granted, there are times where it takes months. It takes a lot of, I think the last job I did this, it took a lot of pitching to a lot of different leaders to drive this home, especially if it comes to salaries and breaking down how this much might cost the company and the team and budgeting, right? But ultimately, they're happy you brought a solution. They're happy you're thinking out of the box, and they're happy that you're being innovative because ultimately it makes the company look good. So that's my case study of how my experience was, right? And so I restructured programs, I clarified ownership, I helped scale strategy and improve productivity and the customer experience. So ultimately, the customer felt it. We didn't want to lose a multi-million-dollar client. No, no, no. Especially the one that had that logo. I wish I could say it. I probably shouldn't. But there was no way in hell we should have lost that customer, right? So I had to do everything I can. That role didn't exist before I spoke up. That solution wouldn't have come if I stayed silent. I don't know how long it would have taken. Maybe they got there for years later. I don't know. But I'm glad I said something. And that's what that's what self-advocacy looks like in cybersecurity and the tech industry. And that's how we elevate innovation. Let me say that again. That's how we elevate innovation and resilience, the whole reason why we're here today. So, one more final challenge. It wouldn't be me if I didn't leave you with something else, all right? Let's see, what are you holding back? I need you to think about these questions, food for thought. I don't know, maybe a journal prompt. You guys journal? You guys writing journals? Maybe you want to sit down and think, he sees me, he feels me in the back. Yeah. Maybe you want to write these things down in your journal and think food for thought. What's one idea that you've been sitting on that you have to share, that you should share? Why haven't you shared it yet? Who should you share it to? I mean, maybe if you share it to some random guy that has no relevance, it's probably not going to have any impact. But you might need to think, if I share this with this specific person, it could drive it forward. What is that idea? Write that down, right? Number two, what's one conversation you've been avoiding because it's uncomfortable or you feel unworthy, right? Like, I really don't know how they're going to react. Oh, this guy's a hothead. I don't think they like me. I don't know if she likes me. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it might not be received well. That's okay. Maybe role play it with someone who is one of your peers that you're cool with. Maybe practice it yourself. Create your talk track. Just make sure you're prepared so you can talk to the right person and bring it to their attention because you are worthy. I need you to know that. And third, before we get out of here, what's one question you haven't asked but need to because it will seriously prevent risk and threats? I know, JP, you mentioned that earlier. Leaky PII, bad news. Okay, the last place I worked at, we focus a lot on GDPR, and that's where a lot of my certifications are, right? And so I understand. That's why I said it sounds very expensive because if that came to light, and depending on the impact of how many customers you have, and if it hits a certain protocol within GDPR, which you guys probably know this, there you go. It could be extremely expensive depending on how much PI was shared, how many times it was shared, and you guys probably know this. Forgive me if you know all this, but it can end up being very costly if you don't say something. So think about that right now. If there's a risk or a threat that you just haven't spoke up about, make sure you write that down and bring it up on Monday. All right. So yeah, just don't let it die. Don't let it die in your head. Say it out loud, and this is how you evoke change. So before I leave, I want everyone to stand, please. Stand up, stand up, stand up. Stretch it out. We're ending. Yes. Okay. So repeat after me. My voice is powerful and resilient.
My voice is powerful and resilient.
Oh, better, please. I know you got a lot of bass in your voice, a lot of men in here, but y'all can do better. My voice is powerful and resilient.
My voice is powerful and resilient.
Yes, my ideas are innovative.
My ideas are innovative.
My silence is a security threat.
My silence is a security threat.
And lastly, I speak, I lead, I secure.
I speak, I lead, I secure.
Okay, give yourselves a round of applause. All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. If this resonated with you, I need you to know your voice is not just valuable, it's necessary for the future of cybersecurity. And if you want to connect with me, you can go ahead and scan this QR code on the left for all my social medias. If you want to book me, if you want to book me for your company, get me in front of your teams, and just interact with me again. And then on the right side, I have a QR code. Give me some feedback. What did you know about let me know what you thought about my presentation, because me and my team can continue to improve on this experience for the next folks I speak in front of. But all in all, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. And I am Jacqlene Monét. I hope to see you all again. Thank you.
Thank you.